I may or may not. They're negotiating TikTok right now. We may let it die, or we may, I don't know. It depends. Up to China. It doesn't matter too much. I'd like to do it for the kids. They like it. I mean, selfishly speaking, I did very well on TikTok, and I got the youth vote. I got numbers that nobody's ever even come close to in the Republican Party. Nobody. If you look back to Romney and all these people, they got practically no votes. I got a lot. And some was attributed to TikTok, and a lot was attributed to Charlie. We're going to see, but we've hit them very hard in so many other ways. I don't know if you know. Do you know what they're paying right now? What are they paying right now? You know what China's paying right now in tariffs? Huh? A lot.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday said he may let TikTok die as the deadline for a U.S. deal with the social media platform approaches once again. Speaking to reporters in New Jersey, Trump was uncertain whether he would offer another extension. I may or may not. We're negotiating TikTok right now. We may let it die. I don't know. It depends on China. It doesn't matter too much. I would love to do it for the kids. They like it, Trump said. Deadline looms again. If Trump extends the deadline beyond September 17th, it would be the fourth time he has delayed enforcing a law that originally gave ByteDance until January 2025 to sell TikTok's U.S. operations or face a ban. Trump has already pushed the deadline 3 times, first in April, then May, and again in June, saying there were potential U.S. buyers ready. But the deal has stalled. Deal stuck amid China-U.S. tensions. Progress on a deal has been slow due to complex negotiations and China's hesitation. Any agreement that involves sharing TikTok's highly valuable algorithm with a U.S. company must first be approved by Beijing. Earlier this year, a plan was on the table to spin off TikTok's U.S. operations into a new American-owned company. But after Trump announced higher tariffs on Chinese goods, China backed away from the deal. Progress on a deal has been slow, with any sharing of TikTok's prized algorithm with a U.S. buyer requiring approval from Beijing. A deal had been in the works in the spring. It would have spun off TikTok's U.S. operations into a new U.S.-based firm, majority-owned and operated by U.S. investors. However, it was put on hold after China indicated it would not approve it following Trump's announcements of steep tariffs on Chinese goods. Trump began his second term as president on January 20th and opted not to enforce the law requiring TikTok's U.S. asset sale or shutdown. He first extended the deadline to early April, then from May to June, and a third time to September.
U.S. and Chinese officials began talks in Madrid on Sunday, September 14th, on their strained trade ties, a looming divestiture deadline for Chinese short video app TikTok, and Washington's demands that its allies place tariffs on China over its purchases of Russian oil. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer arrived shortly before Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng and China's top trade negotiator Li Chenggang at the Baroque Palacio de Santa Cruz, which houses Spain's foreign ministry in the Spanish capital. The talks mark the fourth time in 4 months that the delegations have met in European cities to try to keep a fractured U.S.-China trade relationship from collapsing under President Donald Trump's tariffs. Trade experts said there was little likelihood of a substantial breakthrough in the talks hosted by Spain, which has sought to improve ties with Beijing in recent years.
President Donald Trump on Friday granted TikTok another reprieve by announcing he would extend the deadline for when the popular app had to make a deal to be separated from its Chinese owner, ByteDance, or face a ban in the United States. TikTok, which had been facing a Saturday deadline for a deal, now has another 75 days to find a new owner to comply with a federal law that requires it to change its structure to resolve national security concerns. That puts the new deadline for a deal in mid-June. The delay was Trump's second for TikTok this year. He first paused enforcement of the law in January, even after it was unanimously upheld by the Supreme Court. The deal requires more work to ensure all necessary approvals are signed, Trump wrote in a post on Truth Social on Friday, adding that, "We do not want TikTok to go dark." The extension is happening at a particularly fraught time in U.S.-China relations. This week, Trump levied a 34% tariff on goods from China. On Friday, Beijing retaliated with 34% across-the-board tariffs on imports from the United States. Trump has repeatedly mused that he would lower the tariffs on China in exchange for its approval of a TikTok deal. The federal law that aimed to change TikTok's ownership or have the app be banned was passed last year with wide bipartisan support and took effect in January. But Trump effectively overrode the law when he paused enforcement of it that month. ByteDance on Friday acknowledged for the first time that it has been involved in the TikTok negotiations with the U.S. government. There are key matters to be resolved, a spokesperson for ByteDance said in an email. Vice President J.D. Vance, whom Trump tapped to help oversee the deal talks, said as recently as Thursday that a deal was imminent. Amazon submitted a bid, and private equity giant Blackstone also weighed taking a stake in TikTok. Much of the speculation centered around an option that stopped short of a full sale of the app. Instead, people close to the talks have described a deal in which existing U.S. investors in ByteDance would roll over their stakes into a new independent global TikTok company.
Armed by escalatory rhetoric from the Chinese response to your tariffs, and are you planning to meet with Xi Jinping about trade anytime soon?
No, they took that rhetoric back, as you know. They were very tough, and I said, whoa, what's that all about? And that rhetoric was taken back. You know that, right?
My question to you is,
But if you know that, why would you ask that question?
are you planning to meet with Xi Jinping anytime
Yeah,
soon?
at some point I will. I have a very good relationship with President Xi. Very good. And at some point I'll be meeting with him.
Sir, do you think there's going to be a deal on TikTok soon?
There could be. We're dealing with 4 different groups, and a lot of people want it, and it's up to me. So there could be.
Who are you leaning towards?
All 4 are good.